The terrorists who murdered David Haines like to call themselves the Islamic State. But I will tell you the truth. They are not Islamic, and they are not a state. Their actions have absolutely no basis in anything written in the Quran. What they believe has no resemblance whatsoever to the beliefs of more than 1 billion Muslims all over the world.
So this is Theresa May in July of 2016. Let's fast forward to the present day, or rather, just last week.
Will the Prime Minister agree with me that what happened was not Islamic, just as the murder of Ari Neve was not Christian, and that in fact both are perversions of religion?
I absolutely agree, and it is wrong to describe this as Islamic terrorism. It is Islamist terrorism. It is a perversion of a great faith.
Yes, I would like to know who you are looking at there, Theresa. So this is Theresa May in Parliament, the day after of the London terror attack. So it would seem Theresa May has not changed her mind about Islam. She seems to think that terrorism and Islamic terrorism should not be described as such.
And it is wrong to describe this as Islamic terrorism. It is Islamist terrorism. It is
Islamist terrorism, and it's a perversion of a great faith. Now listen to these words, because this is the British Prime Minister. So why are they now changing the terminology for this? Why are they saying that it's not Islamic and it is Islamist? I don't get that. What is the difference? You know? Now, this lady is the Prime Minister of the UK, and I for one cannot believe that she's saying these types of things. Now, back in July, we seen her say the same type of rhetoric, that this is not Islam, this is not what the Quran teaches, and we know fine well that that's just not true. But here we have our leader, apparently. I mean, she's unelected. Nobody elected this person. David Cameron resigned and she took his place. The public did not vote for this lady. And it seems that we could be in trouble here, because she seems to be an Islamic or Islamist sympathiser. So why is this a problem? Why is she an Islamic or Islamist sympathiser? Well, quite some time ago, before she was elected, before she was given the place by David Cameron due to his resignation, Theresa May said Sharia courts greatly benefit Britain. Now, if you're not aware of this, there are over 100 Sharia law courts in the UK, and Theresa May has claimed Muslims in Britain benefit greatly from Sharia law, as she launched plans for an independent inquiry. So an independent inquiry just happens to be headed by a Muslim and guided by 2 leading imams. I don't think that they're the best choices, do you? For an independent inquiry. So what it is they're looking into whether some of the controversial court's judgments are at odds with British gender equality laws. Well, the fact that there's another separate law running alongside common law in the UK is in fact illegal. So the proposed review will investigate whether Sharia law has been misused and exploited to discriminate against women in Islamic courts in the UK. Well, the reason for that is Sharia law allows a husband to beat his wife. There's no two ways about it. So the head of the team of the independent inquiry to figure out whether there's a problem with Sharia law being misused and exploited in the UK is headed by Professor Mona Siddiqui, billed as an expert in Islamic theology, and the chair will be looking into whether or not Sharia courts have broken British laws. As I said, the very fact they exist in the first place is illegal. So as to reassure Muslims, it goes on to say, unelected Home Office Minister Lord Ahmad, that's a nice British name, of Wimbledon issued a ministerial statement promising the review will in no way look into the legality of the courts. So they're not even going to bother looking into whether the fact that these courts should be in existence in the UK, because if they did, they'd be forced to put an end to it, because it is illegal. And he went on to say, saying Sharia law is a source of guidance for Muslims in the UK. I'm sorry, but we have a law. We don't need another law on top of that. So, and this is Theresa May. This is who we've got in charge. So after the London attacks, they saw fit to arrange a nice one world religion push. They had a little meeting outside Westminster. Terror will never drive us apart, pledge archbishops, imams, and a chief rabbi. So, you know, no Jesus Christ in this here. I'm sorry, but I don't. Catholics in the Catholic Church has nothing to do with biblical Christianity. Muslims don't believe Jesus is God. They just believe he's a normal guy, a prophet. And of course, the Jews have rejected their Messiah. So faith leaders, including the Archbishop of Canterbury, Justin Welby, have signed a letter to the Times insisting that terror will never succeed in driving them apart. Signed also by Chief Rabbi and 4 prominent Muslim leaders, the letter states terror seeks to intimidate and divide us. In fact, it has the opposite effect. They say they remain united in their resolve that last Wednesday's murders will not polarise their communities. On the contrary, it will bind us together in a pursuit of peace, friendship and collaboration. So, and you can see here the rabbi, the imams and the Catholic representatives on either flank. Many Muslims feel Islamism, as another change of terminology, has long been left unchecked. So instead of calling it extremism like they used to, when in actual fact it's just fundamentalists in the Muslim faith that adhere to the fundamental teachings of the Quran and Hadith, just the same as a fundamentalist Christian believes in the fundamental teachings of the Bible. So the news spun it, these terror attacks that have been happening for decades now and beyond, they spun it as fundamentalists in the Muslim faith are actually extremists. You know, and they do things that the Quran doesn't even say, or they take it out of context, which is not true at all. Many within the Muslim communities feel Islamism, there's that word again. See, it's like they're too afraid to say extremism now. Has long been left unchecked. Yes, it has, because you all want to ignore it, basically. So what is it with these change of terminologies? Is there any validity to this? Is Islamic and Islamism and Islamist? All these different words to say in one go. Are they different? What's the deal with that? Let's have a wee look at where these words come from, where they were first used, and what they first meant. Because this big push for the one world religion here, when all the Abrahamic faiths get together and just basically become one, but I would like to say that the Muslim faith of Islam was never practiced by Abraham. Islam didn't come around until the 6th century, so, you know, I'm pretty sure the Bible didn't mention Abraham worshipping the moon, which is what Allah is. It's a moon god. You see, when Muhammad conquered Mecca, which was his own people, by the way, he used economic warfare and regular warfare, ambush tactics against his own people who wouldn't accept his new version of paganism. So the reason why Muslims circle the Kaaba is because they had 360 gods in a pagan pantheon around the Kaaba. And when Muhammad conquered Mecca, he destroyed all of the idols, bar one, and that is the moon god Allah. You can see that it's a pagan religion because they still worship this stone and they go up and kiss it and venerate it and all the rest of it. Holy black stone. So I can assure you that Abraham did not worship the moon. So that, therefore, that disqualifies Islam as being an Abrahamic faith right there. But let's look at these terms and the terminology. Okay, you have Islamist, which is what Theresa May was saying.
I absolutely agree. And it is wrong to describe this as Islamic terrorism. It is Islamist terrorism. It is a...
Okay, Islamist, and it's a perversion, remember? So here's the online etymology dictionary, and you can find out where words have their origin. Islamist, 1850, a Muslim. Well, I guess that settles that then, okay? The Islamist means Muslim. From Islamist, later also scholar of Islamic studies. By 1962, a strict fundamentalist Sunni Muslim. Okay, so there's that word that I was talking about, fundamentalist. That just means the fundamental teachings of the Quran, which is what every terrorist does. Sorry, Islamist. Mistake there. Sorry, Theresa. So what about, I mean, I couldn't even find Islamism, so where is that? Oh, there it is right there. It means the religion of Muslims. Oh well then, back to the drawing board.
It is wrong to describe this as Islamic terrorism. It is Islamist terrorism. It is a perversion.
It's wrong to describe it as Islamic. Instead we'll call it Islamist. Well, it's the same thing. I mean, Theresa, you must think we are incredibly stupid.